Hello guys and welcome back to another Blender tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I made this adorable monster in Blender. It's quite simple, and even though I'm labeling this as a beginner tutorial, what I mean by beginner is people who kind of know the basics but they're still new to Blender. I'm not talking about an absolute person that just started using it and they don't even know the basics of the interface yet. So this is a relatively easy tutorial, but you do need to know some of the basics of Blender, like basic modeling, basic navigation. That said, still very easy. So you can see here, this is the character result. I'm going to be showing you every step. The only thing I'm going to more show you the overview of is going to be this background here that I modeled, because it's just so simple. But I will go into my original blend file and I'll give you guys the complete breakdown and materials and just how I went about making this in a few minutes. So the overall process is here. It's going to be a great result, very fun to make, and I'm going to be uploading this original one that you see right here to my Patreon, which is in the description below. You don't have to go on that. You can just make it if you want to. Let's get into the tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoy learning how to make this adorable little monster. Okay, so go ahead and jump into a new scene in Blender. What we're going to be doing is we're just going to start by selecting all of the default objects, and we're going to press delete on our keyboard. Keep in mind, I do have my screencast keys enabled down here in the corner, so you can see the keys I'm pressing. But let's go ahead and go Shift A. Let's go over to our mesh options and let's add in a UV sphere. And with this UV sphere here, we're going to simply tab into edit mode. And with all of this topology active, if it's not, just press A and it'll select everything. Type in R and then X and then 90 and press enter. So if you go into your front orthographic view by pressing 1 on your number pad, you're going to see that we're now seeing it like this and not like this. Okay, that's pretty important. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select this middle vertex here at the front. And we're going to go Control plus or Command plus on our keyboard. And we're going to do it about 2 or 3 times, just so we select about this many faces here. And we're going to go X and just going to delete those faces. We're then going to go Shift, Alt, and then left click on this edge to loop selected. And then we're going to go E to extrude, followed by Y to extrude it on the Y a little bit. S to scale it slightly, and then E to extrude, S to scale again. And then E to extrude, followed by Y, and we're going to move it in on the Y direction, and S to scale it a little bit. Just so we have a little bit of a lip. We're going to tab back out, and we're going to go Shift A, we're going to add in another UV sphere. And with this one, we're going to tab into edit mode, we're going to go S to scale it down a bit. And we're going to then tab back out. Doesn't have to be perfect for now, just scale it down a little bit. We're going to go into our right orthographic view by pressing 3 on a number pad. I'm going to go G, Y, and I'm going to move it forward. So it should be about this size. If it's not, you can just scale it a little bit. I was just scaling it in edit mode so I don't affect the transform, but I suppose with this, it doesn't really matter. You can do it in object mode. So just scale it G, Y to move it forward. And we want to bring it in here, maybe scale it down just a bit. And then we're going to go R, X, 90 and hit enter. And now we have the eye here. I might just move it here a little bit. You get the idea. Select both of these objects, right click, and then go shade smooth. Now we're going to select the body again. We're going to tab into edit mode. And we're going to make the little bottom part, which is actually really easy with this method. So in our right orthographic view, with only the body selected, tab into edit mode, press Z and go into wireframe. And what we're going to do is we're going to click and drag, and we're just going to select all of these faces like that, as you can see. Maybe from here onwards like that. You can see just kind of like a square. If you go Control 7 and you look at the bottom, you should see something like this. So these ones here, and you're going to go E to extrude. You're going to extrude it down a bit, and then S to scale. And then you're going to go E to extrude and Z and take it down into Z. And then you can go S, Z, 0, and then enter to flatten it on the Z. Then go X and delete faces. But at the moment, this isn't round. So we're going to go Shift, Alt, left click on this edge. Then if you go Shift, Alt, S, you can now round this out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to deselect it, Shift, Alt, left click on this edge, and then Shift, Alt, S, and just smooth it out a bit. Then go Control plus once or twice just to grow the selection. And now we're going to go to our smooth tool, grab the little gizmo and just smooth it out. Shift, Alt, left click on here, and then S, Z, flatten it on the Z a little bit again. Now we have kind of this body coming down. Go into your front view, and then what you're going to do is scale it down even more. E to extrude, and then Z. Bring it down to make a little body like this. And then you're going to go E to extrude, and Z. move it down a bit, S to scale, and then come in here, go Control R, roll in a few loops, and then go S to scale it up a bit, Control plus a few times to grow the selection again, and then just smooth out that body a little bit. Now we have a nice smooth body. Deselect everything and then go Shift Alt again, left click on this edge, E to extrude, S to scale, move it in like this, and then F to fill it. Now we have this body. If you want to, you can also make a little mouth. That's what I did. So I'm going to just tab in here quickly, go to your face select option, and then just select some faces, but make sure it's even on both sides. So holding in Shift, select these faces here, and then these ones here. I'm just holding in Shift, E to extrude, S to scale, and then S, Z, like so. And then what you can do, you're going to go into your right orthographic view. Let's just go Z and go into our wireframe. E to extrude in, then E to extrude again, R to rotate, and then G to move it down a little bit, and then S to scale it up nice and big, move it in a bit, and then E to extrude, S to scale, rotate, and then E to extrude, S to scale, E to extrude, R to rotate, and then G to move it in, and then X, and just delete those faces. Now we have the inside part of the mouth. Okay, if it's sticking out a little bit, all you have to do is in wireframe, go to your vertex select option or whatever, just come in here, Shift Alt, left click on this edge, Control plus to grow the selection about 1 or 2 times, and then just use the smooth tool, grab the gizmo and just smooth that down if it's too much. And there we have a rough mouth. Now at the moment, we want to mirror as we're working. So let's just quickly go enable the mirror up here on the X. Let's go to our proportional editing tool and let's just quickly grab a vertex here in the corner of the mouth. I'm rolling the middle mouse button to control the fall off. And I'm just roughly shaping this mouth with that X mirror on, giving it a bit of a smile. Okay, we can always adjust it later, but you get the idea. And I'm just gonna grab the side vertex here and just give it a little bit more volume. But you guys can adjust the shape however you feel you need to. But I'm gonna tab back out. I'm gonna go to my modifiers and I'm gonna give this a subdivision surface modifier to smooth things out. So far, we're going really good. Let's select everything and let's go G, Z, move it up till it's sitting above our ground floor here. About that much. And let's quickly go Shift A. Let's model the quick little legs here. Very easy. Shift A, add it in a cube, tab into edit mode. Let's disable proportional editing. S to scale it down quite a bit. About that much. And let's quickly enable our X-ray over here, just so we can select through everything. Let's select this bottom vertex and go G, Z, move it down about this much. So we have a little leg here, tab back into object mode and then go G and move it up here, roughly here. Tab back in and then go G, Z, move this down, S to scale it. Then go into your right orthographic view, go E to extrude. Select these verts here, that'll select that face. Then go S, X and scale it on the X a little bit. Control R, left click, and then drag once you've left click, and then S to scale over here, just to add in a loop there. And let's go to our face select, select this face here, go into the right orthographic again, and then E to extrude, bring this out. And let's just select these verts here, go G, move them down. And what we have here is a very basic leg. You can actually select these verts here in the corner and inside, and G, Y, move them forward a little bit. Control R, add in a loop here if you want. Control R, add in a loop here, left click once, drag down, left click again to leave it in there. And then over here you can go Control R and roll in a few loops. Control R, add in a loop here. Control R, add in a loop here, left click. Then select this top vertex, go X and just delete it. I'm going to disable X-ray mode. A to select all of this, and with that smooth tool, we're just going to go ahead and smooth that out. Now we have a simple leg. Tab back out, right click and go shade smooth. And let's go to our modifiers, give that a mirror modifier, click on the eyedropper and select the body as a reference. Now we have 2 little legs here. You can at any time tab into edit mode. You can always scale up the feet a little bit. You can move things around. You can adjust the shape of the leg. This is completely up to you, how you want to go about doing that. I'm just going to leave it really simple. And I'm also going to give this a subdivision surface modifier. Okay, you guys get the idea of that. So we now have our little guy coming together here. Let's give him some little antennae. So we're going to go Shift A. We're going to add in a curve this time. Let's make that a Bezier. We're going to go G, move up that Bezier here to the top corner. Tab into edit mode. And with all of those handles selected, let's disable proportional editing. R to rotate, and then G, and move this up so the lowest handle here is at this origin point. You can see that little orange dot there. That's our origin point. Tab back out into object mode. You can actually see that orange dot. If you don't, go up here to overlays and make sure origins is enabled. That's just essentially the point where everything is rotating around. That's our that tells Blender what our object's volume and size is, like the transforms here under the items here, as you can see. Okay, so just keep that in mind if you're new to that. So we just want that to be there, so if we do any rotation, that's where that is. Tab back into edit mode. Let's just select this handle at the top. Let's press R to rotate it, move it in a bit. And once we have a nice satisfying shape, let's go over to back in object mode. Let's go to our object data properties for our curve. Let's go to the geometry and let's scroll down to the bevel, and under the depth, let's increase that to about 0.04. Let's tab into edit mode, and then let's just select this handle. And if you go Alt S, you can scale it up. Let's go to our top orthographic by pressing 7 on the number pad. E to extrude, R to rotate it, Alt S and scale that. And now we're just creating another little point of a handle. And you can do this however you want. I'm just going to go with something that looks like that. I'm going to select this bottom handle. I'm going to go Alt S as well. And this looks cute. I'm going to tab back out. And then I'm also going to enable fill caps. So now we have this. I'm going to give that a subdivision surface modifier. And I'm going to go ahead and with this active in object mode, I'm going to go F3 and I'm going to go convert. So type in convert and go convert to mesh. And now this is a mesh object. We can simply now go give it a mirror modifier, click on the eyedropper and select the body of our creature. And at this point, we could scale it however we want it to. We can rotate around the origin point however we wish. And then we can come to the drop down on our mirror and apply it. With both of these selected, let's press F3 and let's type in set space origin. Let's set the origin to the geometry, so it's in the middle here. And now if we rotate, you can see it's a little bit more even. So now we pretty much have our model done. The next part is going to be adding a particle system and also adding some materials. And then I'll quickly run you guys through the process of how I made my stage and background for the rendering process. Okay, so now we're going to add a particle system to our body, to the body of our character. So select the character, go over to the particle settings over here, and let's click on the plus to give it a particle system. Let's just call it fur. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on hair. We're going to go to advanced and we're going to come to the source. And because we're using modifiers, we want to go under the source and click on use modifier stack. We're going to come to the hair length and we're going to bring that way down. Now this is obviously up to you. I'm going to go with something like 0.14, maybe even a little bit, 0.15 should be okay. We're then going to go down, scrolling, and we're going to go to our viewport display. And let's bump up the strand steps to 3. That's going to give us a bit better quality. Under the children, we're going to tell each one of these parent particles how many children. So let's click on interpolated. And it just means for every one of these 1000 that we have under the number, it's going to be generating in the display 10 children or in the render 100. Let's change the render amount to 70. Okay, that'll be enough for the first particle system. At the moment, things look a little bit too straight. So let's go to the render. Let's just first of all enable B-spline. That's just going to give us more steps. Let's bump it up to 4. And let's scroll down now that we have more steps. Under the children, keep scrolling down and we're going to go to the roughness. And under here, we're going to increase the ununiform amount a little bit, and then the size a little bit. We're then going to go to the endpoint, and this one is going to make things much more random. Let's drag that up just slightly, and then the shape as well, just slightly. Now you can see the hairs look a bit more random, but at the moment they're everywhere. They're inside the mouth and they're inside the eyelid. That's not cool. Let's tab into the edit mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to go Shift, Alt, and then left click in the inside loop of this eye. We're going to go Control plus about 2 times just to select the eyelid. We're going to now go over to our object data properties. And we're going to go to the vertex group here, click plus. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go Control I to inverse the selection, or Command I if you're using a Mac. And then we're going to go Assign. Now we've assigned these to our particle group. What we're going to do, we're now going to go, because the mouth, we don't want that. So we're going to go Shift Alt in wireframe mode, left click on this inside loop, Control plus to select everything that is inside of the mouth. So just Control plus. If you go too much, just go Control minus. And then we're going to go here, and instead of going Assign, we're going to go Remove. And now it's removed that group. So if we deselect everything and we have this group selected and we go Select, we should now see everything is selected except those parts that we removed or didn't assign in the first place. So tab back out. Now head back to your particle system, scroll down to the very bottom, and under the vertex groups, go to Density and select Group. And now you can see we have the hairs exactly where we want them. How cool is that? Now let's grab our horns here, or antennae. They're actually antennae because they're soft and fluffy. And we're going to go give them a particle system of their own. And let's make that hair advanced. Let's go use modifier stack, and this time let's just bring that amount way down. And let's scroll down. Let's go to the children, make it interpolated. And let's just change the render amount to 20. And let's just go to the roughness and give that an ununiform amount. And the endpoint a little bit, and then the shape. Okay, that's much more like what we want. So for now, we'll leave it at this. But let's just actually add in some lights and a stage and a camera before we get into our materials, so we can actually see what we're doing. So we're going to go Shift A, we're going to add in a plane. We're going to go S5 to scale it up 5 times. And then we're going to go SX2 to scale it 2 times on the X and press enter. Then we're going to tab into edit mode. We're just going to go to edge select and select this back edge. And I think we're going to go G, Y, and just pull it back a little bit more. Now this is up to you, how far back you want your stage. I'm going to go about this much. And I'm going to tab back out. And I'm going to go into my front orthographic view by pressing 1, Shift A. Let's go and add in a camera. G, Z, move it up. And then G, Y, move it back. Go to your camera settings, and let's give this a value of 130. And let's press 0 to go into a camera view, and then G, middle mouse button, and I'm just zooming back like so, and then G, Z, moving up a little bit. So it's up to you to position your camera however you want. This is not really what the tutorial is so much about. I want to go right about here with that sort of focal length. And I'm also going to go to my render settings, and we want to make this now cycles. If you have a GPU, make sure to enable it. If you don't worry, just stick to CPU. And under the render, let's change the samples to 100 and make sure the noise is enabled. Once you've done that, make sure to save. And now you're going to also go Control B in camera view and left click and drag over your camera just to limit the rendering to the camera. So now that we have all of this done and saved, we can go Z and then go rendered. And now you can see this is what we have. How cool is that? But we have no lights. So let's go to our world properties. Let's go to the color here, click on it, and let's just change that to a sky texture. And then under the strength, let's make that 0.2 or maybe even 0.1. And let's go to the sun rotation and just rotate it till we get some nice lighting. Okay, that looks cool. I'm going to go with about 57. Then we're going to go Shift A, we're going to go to our lights, add in an area light, and then we're going to go G, move it forward, R to rotate it in. And by the way, I'm in rendered mode, so I just press Z rendered. And with that light, under the light settings, let's give that 300 under the power. and just keep increasing the size till we have a bigger light. Okay, so that's looking pretty cool. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to make sure to save. And now let's go over to our shading workspace. Let's go into our camera view. Let's press Z. Let's go rendered. And now let's select our body of our character. Let's go new. And under the principled base color, let's make that nice and orange. And let's select the top antenna part. Let's go new. And let's make that kind of slightly reddish kind of orange, like that. How cool is that? We're now going to select the legs. We're going to go new. Let's go to the base color and let's make that sort of yellowish and make it darker, almost like a dark brown. Maybe even darker, something like that. So now you can see this is what it's looking like. Now our hairs are looking a little bit thick in the render. So select the body. Then you're going to go over to your particle settings and just go to the hair shape and then make the diameter of the root 0.3 and do the same thing with this particle system up here. Go to its hair shape and make it 0.3. Make sure to save. And now we want to see what this looks like. We haven't added the eye texture yet. We'll get to that. But let's just see what our fur looks like so far. So we're going to go render and then render image. And there we have it. We now have a nice looking render. Let's do a few more things. So we're going to just close that and let's just grab the body again, tab into edit mode. And what we want to do is we just want to go Shift Alt, left click on that edge again in the mouth, Control plus to select everything that makes up the mouth. And this is optional, but I'd recommend going to your materials and then clicking plus and then going assign, making a new material. And then let's make the base color of that kind of like reddish and a bit darker. So now if you press Z and you go rendered, we have a bit of a mouth in there, which I think looks pretty cool. Now with the eye, that's a little bit more involved. So let's just quickly go to the internet. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to Google, and I just typed in CC0 eye texture. Now you can pick any texture you want. I've already picked one and placed it somewhere on my computer, but you guys got to do whatever you want. You can pick whatever one you want. Just check the usage rights and stuff like that. But I've found one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the eye and we're going to go new. So you're going to click new to create a new material. And you're going to go Shift A, search and type in texture. And let's just get an image texture. Place it here. Take the color, place it into the base color of your principled. So go ahead and click on open. And for me, I'm going to go to an area on my computer where I know I saved a texture. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Obviously, this is going to be different for you guys, wherever you saved an image. I've just got this JPEG that I found. I'm going to go open image. And now I have it. So generally, they should all be more or less the same, the different eye textures on the internet. But what you're going to do is you're going to connect that color into the base color, if it's not already connected. And you're going to go now to your UV editing. And then over here, you're going to go Z and then go material preview. Go into your front orthographic view. And with all of this active in edit mode, the eye, you're going to go U and you're going to go project from view. And then over here, you can select all the topology and you can scale it up. You can go G to move it nice and in the middle. And at this point, it's completely up to you to scale this however you want. So there you have it, very easy. Go back to your shading workspace and then just take the roughness and drag it all the way to 0. So you have a nice shiny eye. And if you now go Z and you go rendered, back in our shading workspace, you can see here, there we have the eye. So let's give that another test render and I'll quickly take you guys through how I made my stage. So let's just go render image and see what it looks like so far. And here we have our fluffy monster so far. It's looking really cool. If you guys have made it this far, congratulations. So I'm going to leave it at this point here of the tutorial because this is the more tricky part. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you guys my original file. And I'm going to take you guys exactly through how I did this. Okay. So here we have the same sort of thing, but what I did with mine is on top of the floor that I added in, which we've already done, I just came into edit mode, I selected an edge, and I just extruded it a whole bunch of times like this by pressing E, and I made a little backdrop like that, okay? And then I just modeled this very basic pillar thing out of a cube. I just went E to extrude, E to extrude, E to extrude, made a simple edge, beveled it, really simple stuff. And then under the modifiers, I just gave that a bevel and an array, and I bumped up the amount on the X as well. I increased the distance. Very, very simple. You can find a ton of tutorials on how to use an array modifier and bevel modifier. And I just placed it in the background. Same sort of setup as before, but what I did, if you go Z, I'm going to quickly go Z and material preview. I just added these materials here, which I didn't make. These are free materials that I got on Polyhaven, and I'm going to put a link in the description to the 2 materials that I used. One is this rusty material that I modified slightly, and then one is this kind of grid metal texture. But once again, I'll put a link to the Polyhaven textures. You guys can download them, import the materials into Blender, and add them to these objects. It literally just takes a few minutes to make this sort of setup. So that's all I did. And then on top of that, what I did is I selected my camera. And this is a really big tip. What you guys can do is go to your camera settings, enable the depth of field, click on the little eyedropper here, and then just click on the eye once you've done that. And then take this f-stop value down. And what that's going to do is it's going to create this kind of shallow depth of field. If I turn this off, you guys can see the background looks sharp. If I turn it on, you can see it's not. So using that kind of like depth of field really adds another dimension to this. On top of that, I just went to my particles, and this is optional, but I duplicated that particle system again, and I made another version of it that had a bit of a longer hair, and I made fewer of them, and it just made some random variation. But other than that, what I showed you guys to do in this tutorial is exactly what I did here. I mean, the character is the main thing, so the background here really is as simple as I pointed it out. It's not even worth making a tutorial on that bit. You guys can definitely make whatever you want for an environment. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this character tutorial. This file will be on my Patreon, so check that out in the description below. And a big thanks to the Patreon. The support I get there really makes it possible for me to make this content for the community. So I'll see you guys next time for another Blender tutorial, and thank you for watching.